Hello viewer, the Nameless Scholar here, and welcome to the second episode of Lore Talk after not doing anything with it for over a year. Anyways, this is going to be just me speaking in a stream of consciousness, so expect me to stumble and forget my words a lot because I'm not doing this without any script. And this is a horrible idea because I need some time to think before I actually can articulate stuff like this properly. But I need to get a quick video out, so whatever. And I have some rather big projects coming up after the Dornian heresy is all finished. So, update on my main series aside, let's begin this video. So, Star Wars Legends. Well, it has suffered from contradictory information, and it also has some very stupid stuff in it. For example, Palpatine returning back then was also stupid. And another stupid thing in Star Wars Legends is the Eternal Empire from the MMO, Star Wars The Old Republic. Now, the reason why they are stupid is many reasons. Now, I like them as a guilty pleasure. They are bad, but I enjoy them for what they are, and I've made my peace. And the problems I have with this is that mainly they are an OC Do Not Steal faction, essentially. And if the rumors are true, apparently they're like a homebrew D&D nation of the devs, which is essentially a ripoff of the Fire Nation, which I'll come back to this point later. Now, secondly, Valkorion himself. Valkorion himself is a big problem, and him being essentially vitiate is also a big problem. Now, not just that, when it comes to the Eternal Fleet, I can understand having a third faction to shake up the status quo. I know that trope, it's fine and all. What my problem is that they found the Eternal Fleet on Iocaf, well, Valkorion did, instead of reverse engineering it and creating it by by themselves, the Empire, I mean. Like, at least they just didn't reach that technology on their own, but finding it just standing on Iocaf, that's not really an improvement either. And finally, because SWTOR is such a neglected game and EA barely gives any manpower or resources for it, the stories, especially Eternal Throne, is rather weak. So, how would I fix this? First of all, I would do it by fixing some of the problems that I have with SWTOR. Firstly, I would have made Vitiate stay dead. And essentially have Valkorion be a separate entity from Vitiate, no pun intended. Because my main problem with Valkorion comes from the fact that he is very closely tied to Darth Revan's character assassination, which I would also rewrite to have Revan die at the Foundry in Vanilla SWTOR, whereas the one in the expansion, the eco-terrorist, was just some Revanite cultist that got way too lucky. It's anticlimactic, yes, but better than the character assassination, that's for sure. And thirdly, I would have redone some of the lore of the Eternal Empire. First off, I would have them reverse engineer Iocaf's technology to have their stuff, their weapons, the Eternal Fleet. Though it's fine to, like, even the Eternal Throne could have been reverse engineered, and I would have tolerated it already existing too. Secondly, the Knights of Zakul themselves. They're just generic grey Jedi. To make even though there are many other sects of the Knights and in Zakul general that are much interesting than the Knights, like the Scions, hell, even the underutilized Order of Zildrog. So, what I would have done with the Knights of Zakul is have them closer to Korea when it comes to the philosophy. Not entirely, but akin to Korea, essentially. Instead of seeing the Force as a poison and wanting to get rid of it, they essentially try to go beyond light and dark, you know? Go full Zarathustra and Übermensch. That would have been much more interesting than just generic Grey Jedi. Now, back to the Eternal Empire being a Fire Nation ripoff. Firstly, there is a status quo of the Republic, the Empire, and the Hutts fighting each other, and then everything changes when the Eternal Empire attacked. Now, and this Empire is led by a power-hungry tyrant with a god complex, with an absent mother, a scornful son, and an absolutely insane daughter. Where have I heard this before? Oh yeah, the Fire Nation. That's where I heard it before. With that said, I would have embraced this and essentially, firstly, making Arkan the Zuko ripoff that he is, fully going for the Zuko aspect, instead of having this weird hybrid between Zuko and Starkiller, which, yeah, more on that maybe on another video. For example, Valen does this very well. That's why I like her, because she is unapologetically an Azula ripoff. And I love her. Now, with that being said, again, once I noticed that, like, Senya was one of the few good things that came out of Fallen Empire and Eternal Throne. So, yeah. Not only that, regarding Vitiate's rewrite, Valkorian's rewrite and being separate from Vitiate, I would have approached this in either one of two ways. Firstly, I would have made Vitiate a, separate entity from Valkorian, or if I really insisted on returning back Vitiate, what I would have done is have Valkorian just interact with a very powerful artifact, which would be Vitiate's failsafe, and he essentially turns into Vitiate, similar to how V is slowly turning into Johnny Silverhand in Cyberpunk 2077. But even just Vitiate being not being Valkorian also works. Yeah, I stumble a lot. That's why my Donian Heresy videos take too long to make. Anyways, Valkorian not being Vitiate works also, because yes, he's still an OC Do Not Steal character with an OC Do Not Steal faction, but when it comes to Star Wars and OC Do Not Steals, if you are not Tiber Zahn from Empire at War Force of Corruption, you are automatically better. Anyways, let's do a recap and I'll say something if I have forgotten anything. What I would have done to rewrite SWTOR and the Eternal Empire and essentially make it better is, firstly, have Vitiate stay dead, and have the Echoes of Oblivion Flashpoint be more like, oh look, we found Vitiate's plan B. Let's prevent it from happening. So, not only would Vitiate stay dead, but his entire point of him not getting true immortality and being prevented it is also fulfilled. Then, I would have Darth Revan die at the Foundry, and have the eco-terrorists, cultists that got way too lucky. Then, I would have had the Eternal Empire discover Iocaf and reverse engineer their technology to get the stuff they have, including and especially the Eternal Fleet and the Eternal Throne. Have the Knights of Zakul be more closer to Kreia. Embrace it for being the Fire Nation ripoff that it is. And, yeah, that's it. I mean, EA neglects SWTOR because they just refuse to give BioWare Austin the required manpower and the budget to make what they actually want, so go figure. Anyways, guys, this is gonna be it for this video. I'm the Nameless Scholar. Like the Dark Angels would say, never forget, never forgive.